you know that one does not simply have a podcast about Blade Runner. One meditates on a podcast about Blade Runner. The meditative quality of this meditative movie was moving, to say the least. I must ask myself this question: what does one talk about when they talk about running the Blade? Good night.
Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi. Busy daddies do sci-fi.
Hey, what?
Merry Christmas.
No, not yet.
God,
no,
too soon.
way too soon.
Too
Not even
soon.
Thanksgiving.
You know, I just said too soon, and the barrage of shit happening in the world, I was just like, God, there's so many bad jokes. So many too soon jokes.
Lots of too soon.
Lots
jokes.
of too soon,
Yeah.
man.
Well, it's not
Yeah.
funny though, unless it happened a long time ago. So if you say like,
Well, that's the edge of too soon, though, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
You don't-
It's like you don't
too
make a
soon
too
means you
soon
might be too
joke.
soon.
It's like, no, that's really too soon. But if it's funny, it's like you talk about,
And then it's no longer too
Dresden
soon.
in World War I. It's like, oh, too soon.
Too
man.
soon.
Lincoln assassination, too soon. Come on.
Mhm.
Then it's funny.
Yeah.
Tragedy becomes comedy eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Good evening.
Evening. We're Batty daringly destroying San Francisco.
You mean Roy Batty?
Who's Roy Batty?
Don't.
Who's
Don't.
that?
Don't.
Is that a guy?
So, have you ever seen Robert Townsend's Hollywood Shuffle?
I have not. Wait, are we talking about comedian Robert Townsend?
Yeah.
No.
Batty, Batty, Batty.
I-
Batty. You know?
No, I know Robert Townsend.
There's
He
a
used-
sitcom he gets into with the taglines Batty, Batty, Batty. And it's this old guy who has like bat wings and he's kind of crazy. And it's like Weirdo Cosby or something.
He used to do an HBO special called Robert Townsend Criminal Comedians, something along that line, and it was hysterical. He was also in a science fiction superhero movie,
Which one?
Meteor Man. No?
No.
Well,
He's meatier than others?
No. Meteor.
Oh, Meteor.
Yeah, he is not
man.
the meatiest man on the block.
Mm.
He's a meteor man. It was I think it came out around the same time as the first Batman. And it was a superhero movie, like a proper one before there were proper superhero movies, really.
Well, listener, nowhere to go but up.
Is this what we're talking about? Are we talking about Meteor Man?
Coming from here.
Well, I was 9 years old and
Batty
living in-
daringly destroying San Francisco.
So-
Cryptic title tonight.
Who's this Roy Batty character?
Too soon. I told you, man. I can't go around the block with you again on this.
If you could describe him, what do you think he'd look like?
Which one? Robert Townsend?
No, Roy Batty.
One of my favorite things, real quick, though,
Sure.
about the Robert Townsend thing, since we are doing a perpetual return or something.
Meteor Man podcast.
Is Mr. Batty's got a drug problem, and
Does he really?
So his bodyguards show him off set, and someone's talking about drugs, and the bodyguard says, "Don't say drugs around Mr. Batty. And don't say coca freebase neither."
Oh, Mr. Batty.
Don't say coca freebase neither.
Just to hammer
it's
it
kind
home.
of on the edge
Yeah.
of like, but if you had some,
Yeah,
like,
if you
like
had
don't
some.
say coca freebase neither.
Don't
Like-
say coca freebase either, unless you got some. Don't tease me. That sounds fantastic. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, Batty daringly destroying San Francisco.
Roy Batty.
Too soon.
He
George,
What kind of weaponry do you think this guy would use?
Is there a timeout sign?
Why? What's up?
Hey, are you gonna telegraph me? How can I telegraph you a timeout sign?
What do we have to time out?
I don't know, man. I just think.
You think we're moving a little too fast?
Yes. Isn't there a segue?
Should
Have
we
you thought
flirt?
about this?
Should we flirt with the idea? I think I just started a segue and you didn't even realize that that's where I was going. What kind of weaponry do you think? Do you think this guy is more of like a a gun guy, or is he more of like a sword guy?
No, he's very physical.
Very
he's
physical.
like a fucking
very
wrestler.
physical. So if he'd probably be more of a blade type of blade swinger, kind of. He might even, he might even move quickly away.
Blade swinger. Don't Google that.
Might
at
even
work.
Google it. He might even move quickly away from blades, running, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't
see
wanna,
why
I, don't
I
wanna
forced the
spoil it.
segue on you.
wanna
Well,
spoil it.
what's more important, listener, is it's 2017. Why are we having a podcast about
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner?
And how do you
Blade
do
Runner.
that now, man?
How does it? Yeah.
How do you...
Like Wikipedia has handled this podcast.
Done.
Basically.
You basically... I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to stop listening, I totally understand.
Let's hang it up.
Go to
Good
Wikipedia.
night. Good night, guys. Thanks.
This is the third podcast in a row that we've
We
done
just-
the
yeah.
fake... the fake throw it in towel.
Well,
clearly, we're really invested in what we're talking about
The
here.
futility of it all.
Because here's the thing. What do you talk about when you talk about Blade Runner? Do you
That's
just...
what. Isn't there a movie like What Do We Talk About When We Talk About Sex?
Probably.
Or is that a children's book?
That was a... young adult. Same thing. Children's books, young adult. That's good. Anyway. Do we just pop in here and we talk about that we thought this movie was cool?
Yeah, but hold on.
45
I'll do it for you. There were 3 versions of the Blade Runner released. It came from the book "Do Androids Believe in a Dream of Electric Sheep?"
You really got that one down, man.
Yeah,
Who wrote that?
It's hard to try to read the scrolling, ticker tape on this Wikipedia.
Written by Jonathan K. Penis.
Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Is that a real guy or a fictional guy?
He's the fictional
He's
guy.
the
written
fictional
by,
guy.
Yeah, Richard Bachman.
All right, back on track.
Now, I just had a
Back
great
on track.
segue
No,
go by.
no,
I just
we're
had
not-
a great segue
We're
go
not
by.
getting off on a Bachman tangent.
It has to do with something else in this outline.
I'll allow it.
It's too soon, though.
Okay.
This is all about pacing. Listener, let's you
just
know the relevance here.
let's
You've seen
marinate
the
on
billboards around town. There's a new Blade Runner out. This podcast is not about it.
It is not.
It's
I
not.
apologize if you're tuning in for Blade Runner 2049.
But you're going to have to wait about 30 years.
So we'll see you in 30 years. I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably be dead. But Kevin will be kicking along doing it.
I was thinking about that today.
30 years from now?
What would I'm just 73. I think I got it in me. Yeah.
I think so. But what shape do podcasts take 30 years from now, man? I don't think they're around anymore.
We better.
I don't know.
We hopefully will be
Tell you what, I don't know.
doing Terry Gross's job as a duo kind of thing. Yeah.
Terry Gross has evolved into this National Public Radio amorphous mastermind.
Big brother
Just this
head,
big,
yeah.
giant brain with a beautiful voice. And we're part of her tentacles just doing podcasts.
That's pretty William Gibson-y.
You like that?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
One could marry her AI presence.
We're talking about Blade Runner. We could just sit here and we could talk about what an awesome movie it was.
It's great. Yeah,
it's
fucking great.
great, man.
Yeah, you knew that.
Yeah.
Because you're a sci-fi fan.
Huh. And like Kevin, like you were saying, there was the theatrical cut. There was
Scandalous.
can you believe they did
yeah.
that? Voiceover narration.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I didn't even remember it was voiced over.
Oh.
But the way I know how you feel about voiceovers, George.
You do you?
Yes.
Have I talked about this before?
Yeah.
Not a big fan.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
kind of easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the way they did it in that.
We're not even going to do that.
We're not even gonna do
okay.
that.
That was just
But-
that's a scandalous.
You want to know something funny though? This is
Yeah.
this might be fact of the podcast right here. The end of the theatrical cut has a scene with Sean Young and Harrison Ford driving in a car together.
Uh-huh.
That scene is actually not from Blade Runner. It was shot for the movie The Shining, and they just used it in the end of Blade Runner because they needed a scene of them driving away together.
What was Sean Young and...
They're not. You don't see them. It's just a car driving. It's the it's the car driving from The
just
Shining.
out of mountain range
Yeah,
in Colorado.
they're just like here.
Oh, because they've like made it out.
Because they're like
of
made it
the
out of the city and they're
ready to go
living
north. They're
happily
ready to go
ever
north,
after.
maybe.
Yeah.
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 By the way, this podcast has. I think danced on the knife's edge when it came to some of our content and
Blade's Edge?
the Blade's Edge. And did Harrison Ford, what was he doing when he finally got to make Whoopi with Rachel? Was it a little weird?
They skirt a line there, and I believe what they're doing there is, well, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves again.
People have seen, we don't need, we can drop in anywhere we want on this movie. Especially when he drops trout.
There's a little bit of like hatred going on there, I think. And I thought that had to do with the ambiguity about whether or not Harrison Ford's character Deckard is himself a replicant. Now
that's all part of the wiki world.
That's all part of the wiki world. That
movie never does that. You have to have read. You have to know about Android's dream.
Yes. No, because there's the unicorn. There's the origami unicorn, and there's no reason that he would know about the origami unicorn.
Who? Almost?
Yeah. Oh, it sounds like you said almost. Which is
almost.
Great. How cool did he look, man?
He was great.
He was great.
He was Chinese.
Yeah.
Clearly.
He has the dream about the unicorn, and it ends with the origami unicorn. And there's the like, wait a minute, how does he know? We're talking about memory
I didn't even notice it was
an
origami unicorn. I just thought it was an origami thing.
Origami unicorn.
Well, they didn't talk about that in Wikipedia.
No, they did. Oh, well, shit. You did your research. Jeez.
No, I didn't read about that in Wikipedia.
It's debatable whether or not this was Ridley Scott's intention. I don't think he's ever come out and stated, or whether this was completely made up by the fan base.
Well, I mean, that would be pretty good evidence. That's because the unicorn, like, what the hell's the unicorn? It's a dream?
It's a dream. It's a memory. I mean, if he's a replicant, it's an implanted memory. It's an implanted to make him feel more human, which is what...
So, you mean it's dream content?
Yes.
And so every fifth replicant gets a unicorn.
The same way he knew what her memories were. The spider outside your window. And
I definitely thought about that, but I didn't know it sealed the deal with a unicorn at the end.
It doesn't seal the deal. It's like, here's a little something.
That seals the fucking deal for me.
It's kind of revelatory now, huh?
How would you... this movie is extra fucking... Yeah, it's great.
It really is, though. I mean, this is not the movie I remember seeing.
So I forgot, like, even the set pieces. So just coasting over the Tyrell building and stuff and just going, oh, that's cool. And the way those giant fires, those chimneys blowing out in L.A. 2019, by the way.
2 years from now. That's what our home is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
This movie gets a lot of credit for not creating, but certainly helping to establish the idea that the future might not be a shiny place. That it might not be like you get that dystopian future. And for it to open with an endless skyline, that's one thing I loved, is just there's lights everywhere.
But that is our skyline.
Yeah.
Like, it was more believable.
It was cool.
So, like, that's how when you fly in... You see it like that.
It was really cool. And then the explosions, the pollution. Nobody who is really capable of affording it is still living on Earth. Except for people like Tyrell who are in even his office, like, just vast, and the windows are giant, the shades coming down. There's so much stuff that I just didn't remember from watching this from when I was a kid or watching it like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, should we set up the world, or do we just go right?
I don't know, listener. Do you need the world set up?
I mean, it's.
Hold on.
Yes.
No.
No. Okay. It's Los Angeles.
Set it up, George. You
Los
might as
Angeles.
well.
It's 2019. Okay. We have the Tyrell Corporation, which is a massive corporation in this future, has created nearly perfect robots that are known as replicants. They are used primarily for off-world slavery. There's not really much known about what's going on with them. Maybe some warfare type stuff. Maybe some just some shady dealings. If they escape, then they are hunted down by these cops called Blade Runners. And they retire them. They kill them, basically. So there are 4 Nexus 6 version replicants that have made it to Earth.
So pause button here real quick.
Go ahead.
In Richard K. Morgan's 13, there are highly evolved military killer-like criminal who escapes off Mars back on. And I never even connected the dots on that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Nice.
didn't you begin?
I did. I got about
see-
70 pages
Yeah,
in.
okay. Yeah, he made it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably a tip of the hat to old Blade Runner there. So replicants are running around. They've escaped, and
The cops hire...
they want to figure out how to live longer.
Yeah. They've got a 4-year lifespan that's built into them. Hardwired. They're nearing the end of it. They want to live longer. The cops hire Rick Deckard, who is a well-known Blade Runner, to hunt them down and kill them. And that's kind of where we pick up. Harrison Ford plays Rick Deckard. He is not an action hero. That is one thing that I really, really dug about this movie, is he spends a lot of time
Getting his ass kicked.
or running away from these much stronger, much faster, much more deadly machines. He's not the guy who says the catchphrase and starts shooting. He gets the gun slapped out of his hands a couple times. You know, this stuff like that happens, and it's pretty cool. He should be dead in like 3 different circumstances in this movie, if not for the actions of others. He falls for a replicant who works for the Tyrell Corporation, played by Seong Young. I can't remember her name.
Rachel.
Okay. Good looking lady.
Weird hair all throughout.
Weird
the movie,
hair all
though.
throughout.
Like, I don't know
Even
what.
Harrison Ford just had kind of like the push down thing.
It's
It was like,
yeah.
Everything in this world seems sticky, and it's raining all the time. Smoky. You can tell that like
Cluttered.
Earth has just become this overpopulated, just climate change mess. Where again, like most people who can afford to, they live on other planets. They live on colonies.
Off planet. Some of the cooler haunting images are the ships, the blimps that kind of hover over, always announcing, kind of like with a screen, like the Goodyear blimp, the off-world destinations. And it's sort of like they almost look like they're patrolling, but they're still advertisements. And like you get the picture that no one can really act on that ad any longer.
Right.
At least not the people who
at
are
least-
seeing that shit. It's like, why is that thing just floating around advertising?
Yeah, like maybe they even struggle to get like a real Coca-Cola and stuff like that. You know, like you get this idea that, one thing that I loved Ridley Scott said when he was involved in the production design of this movie with his production designer. He said the thing that always bothered him about movies that take place in the future is that everybody's got a future car. Everybody's got a hover car that's brand new and it looks great. And that's not how it would be. He's like, right now, if you look around, you see a pastiche of like cars from 30, 40 different years, everything. And he said that's one thing he really wanted to create was this, not everyone's got a flying car. Some people have pieces of crap that just sit on the ground. Some people have brand new Porsche-like hover cars. You know, the cops are kind of mid-level. There's Fly, but they're still kind of utilitarian and junky.
Yeah.
And everything. And I thought that just adds such a really cool element to these things. Like, that's kind of what it would be. It would be this, like, collection of different decades of vehicles and stuff. So, yeah. I mean, it's fucking great. It was a great movie. It was quiet, and it was, like, thunderous at the same time. It was beautiful. There's questions about like, God and humanity. What are we doing here? Are we better than what we? I mean, Rutger Hauer playing Roy Batty, who is just days away from the natural end of his life as a replicant.
Mm-hmm.
The desperation, the emotion, the violence. It's all so perfectly portrayed. When he's talking to Cass, to Daryl Hannah's character, and he has to tell her about how the other two replicants are dead. It's such a simple moment. Like, he doesn't cry. He just gets like a little, he turns away and says, there's only two of us left now. But it's so well played. Like, it's Rutger Hauer, like, at his best. I grew up with Rutger Hauer movies when he was a little older. Movies like Blind Fury, where he plays the blind samurai. And
Blind Fury.
do you remember? No. Oh man. Or Split Second. That's it.
Where he plays the split
Where
samurai.
he plays the blind short order cook.
Yeah.
No, he had like 15 movies where he was blind. No, Split Second was an awesome movie that takes place in future London about this alien that comes to Earth. Kim Cattrall is in it. She's naked a couple times too. Just so you know.
I love your naked nerd reference.
I used to thrive on that, on like naked celebrity movies.
Is that what they called it then?
Thriving? Yeah. I think that's what they still
If
call
you thrive so much, you'll go blind.
Too soon.
But you're not a samurai.
Too soon, Kevin. If I were blind, I could become a samurai.
I know you
I would
could.
just have to find Rutger Hauer. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he's perfect as Roy Batty in this movie. And I can't remember the actor who plays Leon. I can't remember his name, but he's been in like every movie in the 1980s. Yeah. He's just that go-to slobbish. Even
cop.
Even the guy who does his interview in the beginning is a fantastic character. He's in the movie for like 3 minutes, and then he gets gunned down by Leon. Yeah. But he's just a great cigarette smoking. It is questions Leon. You know, somebody came up with him in an office.
Yeah, no, it's very good. It was a good movie. It makes me wonder, I didn't experience this movie like I've ever experienced it before, and I'm probably what's that old expression we have around here? There was probably wine bong hits involved with whatever movies we'd seen before. Yeah.
Though you meant always flush twice. That's a different expression.
That is a different expression. Yeah. We're going, is that potty humor?
It's a little potty humor there. Figured I'd toss it in.
Yeah.
So, what you're saying is that when I saw this movie, I was not ready for it.
I think. I have a state of the world, like the Rutger Hauer stuff. It was believable that he, even as an android, was getting feelings, almost more empathetic than the humans in the movies.
Certainly.
But I felt it when he lost his friends, and his sort of crisis was just sweet. I mean, when he helped Harrison Ford at the end, it was just nice. And the stuff he says about it'll be like tears lost in the rain, you know? And
he's speaking to, in a way, like he's speaking to a simpler form whose society views them as a simpler form.
Yeah.
You know, he's talking to this human, and he says to him, I've seen things you people wouldn't
see
believe.
That was beautiful. And that
was
Sci-Fi,
gorgeous, man.
The way he talked about ships blowing up in the belt of Orion, and then he talks about a type of sunset, and it could be so corny, but it was so believable that like that dude was a space militiaman.
Yeah.
And then so like sitting on Earth in the rain in L.A., you get like this backfill of that guy, man. Like, I could see so many places he'd been, and it was so very cool.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that the time when I might have seen it on HBO, or the time when that was the cult video to rent and you needed to get it under your belt for street cred, I have no memory of taking in this movie like I took it in.
Well,
so,
the beautiful thing is we're not given what almost any other movie would have done, which is like the 5-minute opening sequence where you see Roy Batty and the other replicants breaking out of a military installation or everything. Like, we're not, up until that moment when he's talking to him, we really had no idea. Like, we knew there was slavery involved. But we didn't know what the heck these guys were all about. We didn't know. You're given 3 lines, and your mind writes the entire story for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like, I had seen Blade Runner. I knew what the deal was. Yes, it's based on the Philip K. Dick novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? It's got a couple different cuts. But I felt like I had never seen it until I watched it last night.
Well, certainly fresh. Obviously, time, I didn't remember much of it, so it was very cool. Watching the whole world.
Sebastian, the toy maker.
Yeah.
I completely forgot that character existed. I completely forgot that
I did, because I remember that the Bradbury building. I remember more that the Bradbury building's in this than about the movie itself.
See, I didn't remember anything about him bringing Daryl Hannah back to his apartment, him having the little toy soldiers, and that guy is a great voiceover actor. He was in Deadwood, too.
The Deadwood guy. Yeah.
But he's just so, like, peaceful and innocent. Just really, really well played.
And young. He's young and a genius. He's a
25.
molecular genetic biologist. He's a 25-year-old. He looks more screwed up because he's got some hyperdegenerative thing going on, which makes him have an affinity to the the time-limited androids, the replicants. Not that he likes what they're doing, but they share this thing, and he's sort of a different version of it.
Yeah.
He's made toys, and he likes a solitary life, and he doesn't need to go get into someone's penthouse and find out the secrets of how to live longer.
Which is what they want. They want to live. They don't want to rule the world. They don't want, universal conquest. They want to live a little longer than what their stamped in expiration date is. That comes to a head in a really, really great moment between Roy Batty and the Tyrell character who owns the Tyrell Corporation and has designed these replicants. And they're kind of, Roy Batty and this Tyrell are kind of negotiating with each other, kind of going back and forth. Because Roy's certainly got some ideas about how to increase his own life. He's clearly done the research and thought about it. And Tyrell is just at every stop, we tried that.
Like lovingly explaining to someone that, that you only got 6 months to live. It's like, we've explored that avenue. That avenue exposes another virus. And it was real gentle and fateful. It's clear that we had a man meeting God
of course.
moment. But that was done really well. And you could tell, so there's tons of candles in that scene. He's wearing white.
Right.
It's all golden, and it's just the father talking to the son and letting him know the conditions of his existence.
Tells him you were made as perfect as you were made, as we could have.
Yep.
And then he crushes his head.
Eyeballs out. Yeah.
Roy Batty, do not cross that guy.
Well, that's the word, the name. It's funny, Batty.
Batty. It's fantastic.
Well, so but like that feeling I had, I got to go back and read all the classics of literature again, all that stuff that you know from your high school English class, and I kept feeling over and over again with Lord of the Flies and To Kill a Mockingbird and The Scarlet Letter and the Shakespeare classics and To Catch Her in a Rye. These things sung to me, and I knew things about them that I wouldn't have known as a kid or as a high schooler when I was having to read them. The Lord of the Flies, I'm like, there's not a word wasted. I would have never had that thought. I didn't have that thought.
But was the connection made? Like, that's the thing about, like, seeing Blade Runner as a kid. Reading Lord of the Flies as a kid.
Did it prime the pump or something?
It flipped the switch. And it made you, at some point later on, go, you know what, this might be worth revisiting.
Well, I wouldn't have repicked up those books. But all those books had nuggets in them. And here we are, Blade Runner having the nugget. That's all I was saying. But
right, certainly. And it's got the nugget.
The nugget.
I love that. It's got the nugget. So this movie came out in 1982.
Yeah.
It did not do well.
That's what the Wikipedia's told me.
Right.
So again,
So
this podcast right now, I mean, we could go into that. It doesn't do well.
well, it's a cult. It's it's a cult classic. It's one of those movies. But it's a weird one in a way because I feel like it's a cult classic, but most people know what Blade Runner is. Or am I wrong with that? Is that a misconception? Is that a misperception?
That is to say that cult means that it's something that the others don't know
something
about.
that maybe mainstream doesn't really know about. That has to be sought out. Whereas Blade Runner, it's got Harrison Ford in it. You know,
It's got Han Solo in it. Is what it's got.
Solo.
Yeah.
Pretty fresh off the Han Solo.
Well,
boat,
so
yeah.
what? So obviously this movie's cool. What was going on in 1982 that this was considered a flop? I heard that it didn't make back. It fell within $1 million of
breaking even.
Yeah,
Wow.
which I think is technically a flop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you don't make your money back,
So,
you're busted.
Like what? How did it flop?
What
Was it pre Empire Strikes Back? Post?
82 is post Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, Empire's 80.
Yeah.
So maybe the timing wasn't right.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird thing. Is it accessible? That's one of those things. Is this a movie that like John and Judy Public were gonna walk in and go like, wow, that was meditative and beautiful, and there was that whole man meets God thing.
Did you just use the word meditative?
No,
We weren't.
That's not likely.
No, you can't.
That doesn't sound like
No,
me.
no,
That sounds like
no,
you.
No, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I usually say something like it's a meditation.
A meditation. Yeah.
Yes.
Put the French
Which
spin
does,
on it.
I was hesitating to mention because of Judy Public. Remember when she cut into me?
Oh boy. Judy.
She's a bitch.
Judy Public
Yeah,
is a bitch.
and
John's an asshole.
yeah, well, they're perfect. The Tarkovsky Meditation Zone.
Yeah.
This was in there. I
Certainly.
could have watched parts for longer. I thought it was not a word wasted. I think works in the cut we watched. I remember Blade Runner feeling long. Probably because what I watched was the director's cut, which I think is longer. I'm not sure.
I believe so. I
remember having to like work to get it under my belt.
Yeah.
And this just sailed right by.
And there are probably 4 or 5 sequences that are a car in flight with beautiful music playing, and they work. They completely work. They don't remove you from the narrative. They give you time to think about what just happened, contemplate what's coming. I thought that all of these were perfect, and they're always at a point when Deckard has just found out something. There's a revelation, and he's got to head to like some new place. He's heading to Terrell. He's heading to go see the guy who I love that guy who buys the snakes.
Oh,
He's in
yeah,
the bar.
Yeah.
So many great characters. The guy who designs eyes, like it's just really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, and the death scene with the snake charming replicant is amazing, dude.
Right.
That chase down and that crash through glass is just such a rad
I
shot.
remember when I was a kid thinking they were gonna spin that and have it that she was not a replicant, because I thought that that was going to be Sean Young. Rachel asks him earlier, "Have you ever retired somebody who was a human?"
Yeah.
And I thought maybe that was going to be because there was not really enough clear-cut evidence that like this was definitely a replicant. But yeah, that was not the case. That's Joanna Cassidy too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is she in the file?
Of course.
George?
See her naked in Blade Runner.
God. Naked in Blade Runner.
My God.
She was weird looking too. Bad hair all throughout
terrible
that movie.
hair.
Yeah.
She put on like a terrible hair machine too. Like she went in the shower, she came out. She looked great with her hair wet and slicked back, and then she
I
on
did
a-
like the step in upside down hair dryer.
terrible
That
hair
was
machine. Daryl Hannah also had some terrible hair.
Bad hair.
Terrible.
Well, that was sort of, that gets into the look of things, and I think on the whole, the hair was almost, it was bad enough to make it fit in.
Yeah.
Like we just lost it, but it was still fashiony and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But speaking of 1982, rumor has it that a young William Gibson sees Blade Runner and thinks to himself, "Well, I'm sunk."
There goes that.
Because he's got a couple stories floated out there from the Burning Chrome series, and probably the baby of Neuromancer on his electric typewriter. Neuromancer is 84, I think.
So he sees Blade Runner, and he
and
goes,
says, "I got to tear this manuscript in half."
Yeah. There goes my whole universe.
And so so the Japanese influence on the American scene
Definitely.
was big. There's a
I
whole
think-
eyes thing. People upgrade their eyes in the sprawl world in William Gibson, and just the replicant having eyes. That, you know, there was the eye guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just mechanical eyes made me think of that, and the dirty trench coaty, kind of open steam vent. It looked like the sprawl.
It's pretty-
which
it's
is
pretty
a
classic.
dome in black. Yeah.
You know, they went for a pretty particular look. I'd be interested to go back and see, like, who had done that Asian influence America before this, or if this was really kind of the first time that we saw what would probably be like a like, I think of things like Joss Whedon's Firefly and Serenity, in which there's a future in which everybody speaks fluent English and Chinese. You know, because
Yeah.
those are the two powers that just completely overtook everything. You know, and whether or not this was the first time where they're like, you know what would probably happen in the future? A lot of people would probably speak Chinese.
Well, if
A lot
someone
of
was
people
hip to
would.
Philip K. Dick, they might have already been. If it started here at Blade Runner, it might be easy to say that had you read Man in the High Castle, you could sort of paint or be inspired
Yeah.
to have the West Coast be influenced like that. And I guess just the ads, and I think also TDK, Atari. I think
Pan Am.
that classic Japan's making everything cool
Yeah.
thing, so they must dominate this scene later if we're all going to be plugged into our machinery kind of thing. Perhaps that influenced that scene,
Yeah,
or that
yeah.
feel that they presented in there. I don't know.
No, and it's certainly, I mean, it's just more apparent than just the ads, too. I think, like, even the culture looked like it was much more food carts. I mean, he's
Like street
eating
food.
street
Yeah.
food and everything that's Japanese.
I don't know if it
And-
was like, I didn't know if it was Chinese or Japanese, but it didn't really matter.
No, it doesn't really
Doesn't
matter. No, I mean, you know, we're all people.
Yeah. Are you still?
No,
You're still paying back?
I'm not.
the,
I'm not.
Those blunders you made a couple episodes
It'll
ago.
go away if you just stop talking about it, Kevin.
I'm fascinated.
Well, I
I
am
just
too.
don't. Why
man.
you overcompensating?
I'm not. I'm undercompensating, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to live a little bit longer here, man. I'm trying to seek out my
try
God.
and make it to 2019.
Just gonna seek out my God, have a sit down with him, talk about some ideas I got for pushing my life a little longer. See
You
what he's
can
got
do
to
that
say.
with meditation, which is why I think these films speak to you more directly.
I would agree with that. Yeah, you know, they give you that space to just come to your own conclusions with things.
Are you mocking me?
No,
You
man.
fucking asshole.
No. This is something that I needed. I needed something I was familiar with, Blade
Mhm.
Runner, to help me understand a point I think that you've been trying to make for a while that I did agree with. I mean, especially when we talked in the past about some of Tarkovsky's movies, when we talked about Stalker, and I loved Stalker.
Did you love Solaris?
No, I didn't love Solaris.
You just had an experience.
I had an experience with it.
You should.
But
I got Solaris on DVDs. Try that one again.
maybe I will.
Be cool to watch.
Maybe I will.
Maybe I will.
But man, that guys, if you've not taken the trip on Blade Runner, do yourself a favor, and definitely check it out. Now, like,
take a trip and watch Blade Runner, because you won't get it.
no, that's right. Don't do that, guys. All right, for once,
that was so 90s, anyways.
just like, put the plug in the jug. Put the bong down. You can pick the bong up when you want to watch Life
or Seinfeld.
or it's now this is anticipatory because we got a sequel to this movie.
We're doing, listener, you know why you're here right now.
Yeah,
because you know what we have to do next now.
Blade Runner 2049, which takes place 30
years later. Do the math.
Later.
Yeah.
That movie's out. We got to watch that.
Running around here before we lose listenership.
Seriously.
You should email us, folks, if we're losing your attention.
Kevin.
What?
Here's the thing.
We're the best
1982.
sci-fi podcast on iTunes, right?
We are number one sci-fi podcast about busy fathers. Yes.
Cool.
Number one.
I like that market.
Top
We've got
of the
it
world.
cornered.
Top of the world, Ma.
Top of the world.
We are number two when it comes to podcasts that have the words dads and sci-fi in the title. Number two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who's number one?
Those leather-clad daddies.
Oh, yeah. Who happen to be scientists.
We got some followers.
Who love fiction.
Got some followers on Instagram who think that we're something completely different.
Yeah.
Let's just say
Don't
that.
Google that either at work.
So we talked. This movie didn't do well financially. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Why did people not like this movie? And can we do better? Is there a
Can
better
we
Blade
write-
Runner?
Is there a better Blade
You know what there
Runner?
is?
I don't think there is.
I'll tell you what there is. There's maybe a more marketable Blade Runner, and I don't.
We
think
don't
that's,
do marketable.
Oh no, I'm not saying. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a good thing. But I'm picturing maybe, maybe you got Michael Fassbender or Vin Diesel back in the day as Deckard. All right, and he's got a much bigger gun.
Well, so one might
you
say that
get,
the more marketable Blade Runner is Blade Runner 2049.
That remains to be seen, because Blade Runner 2049 not doing too well
Oh!
financially, critically, as of right now. People are talking about it like it's. I got close friends who've seen it, and they're like, it's fantastic. I mean, these are guys who hold Blade Runner to the same height that we've just discussed.
Well,
Financially, Blade Runner is not doing. I saw an article today on IndieWire that said Blade Runner 2049 is not going to become a blockbuster. It's going to become something better, a cult classic.
That's a commodity you
It's a weird thing.
can't pay your mortgage with.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Oh, like Harrison Ford needs the money.
That's we'll all that stuff's coming next week, folks.
Yeah.
All that stuff. The better Blade Runner, though, I'd be hard pressed to think of what.
Here's the weird thing. They released a crappier Blade Runner
Yes.
in the theatrical cut. Like, they released a, hey man, you gotta fix this Blade Runner. Like, they released a, we need a happy ending. You got to get rid of this shit about if she's a replicant and she's only going to live 4 years and they're supposed to be together, you got to fix that. All right, toss in some voiceover narration. All right, have them driving off into the sunset together. So they released a shittier version of Blade Runner than what they went back.
So, I mean, maybe it's that it almost worked on the people in 1982.
Yeah, right.
And then someone was like, what the fuck did you just do, man?
Exactly.
This shit sucks.
Maybe they got the nugget though.
Yeah.
You know?
As the film splice, and it's Jack Nicholson going, ha! And then boom, a car drives off, and you're like, what the fuck was
What the
that?
hell did I just see there?
Which makes it a cult. That's like the Exorcist face.
What's the Exorcist face? What do you mean?
You don't know the face that shows up during the Exorcist?
No.
Are you kidding me?
No, I don't. What?
There's
During
a
The
clip
Exorcist,
of
there's
a
a-
man, a devil, with black and white makeup on that pops up during The Exorcist.
I've never heard that
I
before.
think it's twice during The Exorcist.
I actually just got chills, kind of, doing that. You gonna bring that evil into my house, Kevin?
That's not evil.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Listener, you knew that.
Okay.
George, guys, by the way, we just stumped George.
I might have to...
George, I cannot believe you
Didn't
know
know
that
that.
Idris Elba will never touch television again, and you don't know the Exorcist clip.
I didn't know. Yeah. Crazy. Where is he? When is it? When does it happen?
It's early.
Early
it's when
on?
she's in her first scenes, I think.
And it's
when
like a
she's
frame. It's just...
yeah. So you
That's
can pause
diabolical, man. Because you
it.
know
Be a
what?
Great T-shirt.
You don't...
I bet
you
it's a
don't see
t-shirt.
that. You don't see that, but your mind sees it.
Well, but so it's long enough to make you think shit like that. Like it's a great thing that they did there. But
William-
yeah, you don't remember. Well, you don't remember, but pausing it on the VHS.
No. William Friedkin, man.
Crazy.
Well done.
So that
You heard about
those
like,
William Peter Blatty. That's a trilogy. Have you ever heard the Ninth Configuration with Stacy Keach,
No.
which is part 2?
Stacy Keach, the actor?
Yeah.
No.
It's called something. That's the book. But talk about a meditation. Blatty takes the Exorcist 1, the Ninth Configuration book, and then I think Exorcist 3, which is called Legion, I believe. And it's he being a Jesuit priest wrote about how to prove the existence of good through evil with those 3 books. And it's like a treatise almost that through fiction.
Wow. Nice.
But the Ninth Configuration with Stacy Keach is a movie called Killer McCain or something like this. And it's about lunatics running an asylum experimentally that are Vietnam vets.
We got a lot to digest here now, Kevin.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
You heard about the production design in The Shining?
No.
No?
Wait, that whole documentary?
No, that the
Room?
hotel... No,
Yeah,
no.
no.
It's different from... Well, that the hotel is impossibly designed. That you can see scenes that there's like tracking shots when the caretaker is showing Jack Nicholson around, and there's a window that just goes, and it's impossible the way that it's designed. Like, there should be a door right there, but there's no door, and Kubrick had a hand in it just to give people a general sense of dis-ease as they were watching
No,
it.
but there's a documentary that covers all
I've
those
heard,
loopy
yeah,
things.
Room 237 or something.
So where are we? Where are we?
Man,
what happened to us?
We're watching ships catch fire off the cliffs of
Orion.
Orion. All those.
Yeah. Richard K. Morgan. I'll tell you guys where I am. I am almost finished with The Moat in God's Eye by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle. I put that book down right before it got interesting and dove into one other book for 2 nights and then said, I got to go back to this book. And I'm trudging through it. It is better than mediocre, but kind of in the way of what I'd really like to be reading.
I'm anticipating the release of a book.
You?
Yeah.
What book?
On the 17th, the second Welcome to Night Vale novel, It Devours, gets released. And I will devour that very, very quickly, too. I read the last one in 2 days.
So if I read Welcome to Night Vale 1 and then read Welcome to Night Vale 2, we will accidentally be able to have a podcast about books?
Can we have a podcast? Wait, we'd be doing a podcast about a book that's about a podcast.
Well, Night Vale is certainly in the terrain, right?
Sure,
Listener?
certainly.
Email us, listener, bddsci-fi@gmail.com. That is the email address, right?
Certainly.
Instagram us, make quotes, Tweet us.
Make quotes.
Is that what the kids do? What
Pretty bird.
Pretty bird? Who are you quoting there?
I don't know. I was thinking of... I don't know what the hell that was.
Dude.
Big Bear love. I was thinking Arrested Development when they Big Bear.
We've denigrated people.
We're
There's
gone,
nothing.
man.
There's nothing.
No
left.
one's watching.
Listener,
Blade
thanks
Runner
for
after this.
sticking with us.
Check out
yeah.
Check out some trailers. There's a trailer right now out for the upcoming Amazon anthology series based on Philip K. Dick novels called Electric Dreams. And, of course, last night, the new trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi premiered, and that looked fantastic.
Oh, and hey, we got to watch something on YouTube that the producers of 2049 put out to bridge
right.
Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049.
That's right.
How long is that?
I don't know how long it is. I know that it's starring Jared Leto, who I believe plays Tyrell's... I don't know. I don't know if it's his son or if it's just the guy who inherited
This
his
is the
company.
more marketable Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Jared Leto. I mean, that's marketable in and of itself.
Yeah.
That guy's beautiful.
And the other guy,
You know what? He was naked.
Shia LaBeouf.
Naked in
Is he?
in Blade Runner
He's
2049.
naked somewhere.
Naked somewhere. Probably in that Suicide Squad
He was
movie.
naked in the McConaughey movie.
Naked in the
What the McConaughey?
Dallas Buyers
yeah,
Club?
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see that.
yeah. That's a good movie.
It's a good movie?
Yeah, not sci-fi though. So shut the fuck up, man.
Are you
Why
sure
you
it's
gotta
not
bring that shit
sci-fi?
up? Well, I mean, I guess it is.
I mean,
There's
you know, in the 50s it would have been sci-fi.
crazy. Yeah. The 50s.
It's a plague.
The 50s people would have been hung.
Yeah, people would have been hung
they,
for
they were
making
close to
that
doing that
movie.
in Dallas anyways at that time.
It's true. It's true. Too soon.
Not that there's...
Too soon.
Wait,
yeah.
no, there is something wrong with that. You can't say not that there isn't anything wrong with that. It's too
Something
soon.
wrong with what?
You don't have. You don't.
No,
don't
no.
do this,
I do. I think I do. But
Don't do, there's something wrong with hanging people.
Oh, there's definitely something wrong with hanging people.
Yeah.
Certainly. I am
Unless you're in Utah,
I am
where
in
that's
no
legal to
way,
do that to
shape, or
the
form.
criminals.
Utah is like the preferred method of execution. In
Do they shoot?
I think they crush people with big rocks.
We are so toast. Where have we gone? Oh, then we'll leave on this. Into Android's dream about electric sheep. There's a religion called Mercerism. You have an empathy box that you feel the empathy of the Savior in, and all you really see is him climbing up a hill getting pelted by rocks.
Too soon.